Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Pain, Heart and Home Healing After Loss with your host, Emmy Smaz. Recently, I went live on Instagram and I did a quick little, well, it was about an hour long blurb all about holistic home holiday guide. It was a holistic home holiday guide for less stress and more joy. And it's basically all of my biggest tips, kind of just in life, but specifically surrounding the holiday season. I think people get caught up in the hustle and bustle of the whole thing. And a lot of people view the holiday season as a formality rather than something that actually brings them real joy. And so what I'm going to do today on this episode is I'm going to talk about all the things we talked about on that live. So if you missed it, this is a great opportunity to get all that information, because this is a lot of really good information. Like I said, not just for the holiday season, although it's extra helpful during the holiday season, but just for life in general, stressful times, everyday life. These are some of my biggest tips when it comes to lessening my stress and upping my joy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about a handful of pretty practical tips to get your home ready for the holiday season, actual health shifts and choices that we can make through the holiday season that can literally physically lower our stress while still enjoying the fun treats and traditions and all of those things. And I also have a handout if anybody is interested. Shoot me a message, leave a comment on any of the platforms that this is on, and I will send that to you so you don't feel like you have to retain all the information that we talk about here today. So, and the reason I call it holistic is because it doesn't involve taking depression medicine, or it doesn't involve, finding temporary highs and happiness, because, the whole idea of being holistic is finding true wellness, digging deep and figuring out what brings us true joy, what brings us real healing. Because I want to preface this whole thing by saying, the expression, we've all heard it, do whatever makes you happy. Okay. I actually hate that expression. Because sometimes what just brings us simple happiness is not, like, in the moment, isn't actually what brings us the most long lasting joy in life. And so the point of that chat and this episode is not just about finding temporary happiness, because especially during the holiday season, temporary happiness is all around us. It's in the Christmas lights, it's in the treats and the presents, all of those things. We can find it no matter where we go, especially during the holiday season. And so the point is to not do that, and then when it's all over, we are all just depressed. Finding the temporary happiness is easy, but finding long-lasting joy requires some work sometimes. And finding long-lasting joy that will far surpass the holiday season. Like I said, this isn't just about the holidays. But that will also increase your ability to really dive in wholeheartedly during the holidays and enjoy it with your family, and not just let it be another stressful thing, another busy season, another hard time of year, etc. Especially if you are someone who is grieving or who has lost a loved one in general, or maybe around the holidays. Or maybe the holidays are just a hard time for you because of strained relationships or something like that. So especially for people like that, but this can be applicable to everybody. And I'm excited for you to get this information. So these are going to be all of the things that will mentally, emotionally, and physically help reduce your stress and up your joy. So here we go. Number one is the most practical thing I have on this list. And this is to start decluttering your home now, especially if you have, well, one of two things. One, kids in the house, a big family, or two, a hoarding problem. Decluttering is absolutely essential to to have a clear space, which in turn gives you a clear mind. And so something like 15 minutes a day is plenty. From now, if you start, that's almost 2 hours every single week. Okay. You can get a lot done in 2 hours every week if you are focused. And so if you do that from now until the time Christmas comes, like, you will have decluttered a lot of stuff. And the easiest way to make this happen is to get yourself a donation bin and put it somewhere in your house and get in the habit of putting things in that bin. My kids do it now, like on autopilot. I don't even have to ask them. They just give me stuff to put in that bin, and it's stuff that they don't need, that doesn't fit, that they don't like using anymore, things like that. And you know best if you are the mom, the homemaker, whatever you are, if you're listening to this, you're probably the one who is in charge of what comes in, what comes out. So you could take the time to assess those items, but throw it in that bin. And then what I do is about once a month on average, I schedule a donation pickup. They come right to my house. I don't even have to think about it. All I do is throw it in some boxes, throw it on my porch, schedule the pickup, and they take it away. And it's out of sight, out of mind. I never have to think or stress about it again. And so moms specifically, you don't even realize how much stuff your kids have until you start going through their bedrooms, especially when we're prepping for the holidays, and the mental stress that you can unload by clearing out room for the new things that are going to be coming in is absolutely priceless. Do not sleep on this tip. This isn't an earth-shattering tip, but this is a life-changing tip. I absolutely guarantee it. Especially if you are a family who makes lists, like holiday or Christmas lists. This is my family. We all write down exactly what, I don't know if it's all year long or for months leading up to the time. We start making lists early so that when Christmas time comes, we know, like, these are the things that we actually need on a daily basis. It's not just, finding random things like, oh, this would be nice to have. We have exact lists. We all exchange them. So especially if you're somebody who knows what's coming in, you might not know exactly, but you have a pretty good idea of what was on your list or your kids' list. Start making room for those things now. So especially in your kids' rooms, because like I said, you don't even realize how much stuff, clothes, junk from school, whatever it is that they have, and then work through the areas that you're getting gifts. If you don't know, if you're not list makers like me and my family, or you don't necessarily know what's coming into your house during the season, I suggest you start with things like clothing, blankets, kitchen items, things of that nature are typical go-to gifts if you weren't given a list. And you'll want to keep doing that after the new year. So that's the way to prep your home for the holidays. But the key to success in making this a life-changing habit is to continue to do this after the new year. Keep that donation bin in your house. Keep the donations going out, and you will find yourself living so much more stress-free with the less amount of stuff that you are keeping in your home. Decluttering was absolutely life-changing for me, and nobody has been upset about deciding to take the decluttering journey. I can almost guarantee you cannot find me one person who decided, you know what, I'm going to start decluttering my house and I'm going to maintain this, and that they have been less happy because of it. And if you find that person, let me know, because I don't think they exist. And around the holiday season, we're maybe looking for, we like going shopping. We like buying new Christmas Christmas decor, and we see cute things here and there, blah, 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 the Starbucks drinks. We're looking for those dopamine hits, right? If you are looking for a real dopamine hit, stop buying new decor unless it's a time where you despise everything that you have and you truly don't love it and you have the finances to replenish it. That was me a couple years ago. I decided I literally hate everything that I have as far as decorations go. I had a little bit of extra money to spend on it. And so doing that shift, I decluttered all my old stuff. I got a handful, not a bunch of junk, but a handful of really special, beautiful pieces that I love. And now I look forward to Christmas decorating. So if that's you, that's different. But if you are just looking for dopamine hits, stop buying new stuff and start decluttering the old stuff, and you will get that same hit. I promise you. Decluttering is a higher of a hit than shopping ever will be. And this is way more important than focusing on cleaning before the holidays, which, if you're hosting, that's a little bit of a different thing. And I will probably do a future podcast episode on how to prep your home for company. If you are hosting, the things to focus on, the things not to focus on. But if you're not necessarily hosting, or even if you are hosting and you're just looking for your home to be a lot more peaceful and less stressful before the holidays, start with decluttering. Okay, moving on to number 2, to lower our stress and increase our joy, which is what we're talking about here. I'm going to call it 80-20 healthy eating. Okay. I am not a fitness professional. I'm not a health expert. However, I have done lots of research, and in my own experience, I have been through yo-yo diets and up and down weight gain and blah, 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 pregnancies, kids. Like, I've experienced a lot of different, points in my life. And so what I can say from experience and a lot of research is living an 80-20 life in general, especially around the holidays though, is super important. And the 80% that we decide to, and what that means is 80% clean living, healthy eating, and 20% indulging, or kind of just eating whatever you want and that kind of thing. That's a very general way to describe it. So the 80% here is really, really important, especially if you consider yourself someone who is grieving, or if you're in an early stage of loss, or the holidays are hard for you and if your body is already depleted. Like, it is essential for you to stick to at least 80% of clean living, of healthy eating. If you're living in fight or flight right now for whatever it is, whether it's just the holidays are super stressful for you, or you are dealing with grief or loss of some sort, like, bad nutrition is just going to magnify all of that. And it's not going to give you the right resources that you need to start healing yourself and move through this, in a healthy way. So, we know all the tips: eat well, stay hydrated, stay active when you can, listen to your body, all of these things. So, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I want to talk about is enjoying, because we're surrounded by so much junk. So the 80-20 rule is super important. The 80% is important that we stick to it. And when we do stick to that 80%, that's when we have the freedom and the stress-free brain to enjoy the pie, enjoy the cookie or the second plate at Thanksgiving, etc. Okay? This is a very short season of life. And I'm not suggesting that you just throw all caution to the wind because it's the holidays and it's a short season, blah, 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 because that's when you're in for trouble. Throwing caution to the wind and saying, oh, it's just the holidays, I'll just give up for 2 to 3 months. Like, that's when you're in trouble, because when the new year hits and all of your habits have gone to crap, now you're starting from scratch, and starting from scratch is the hardest place to be. However, finding that 80-20 balance is the sweet spot of staying healthy through the holidays and not completely ruining those healthy habits of yours, but also being able to enjoy the traditions and the holiday treats and the pie on Thanksgiving, or the second helping of stuffing, or whatever the heck it is too. And one of my favorite health and fitness authors, Una Duncan, she talks about this. I actually had her on as a guest in a previous podcast episode. And if you are looking to talk about healthy habits, absolutely go listen to that episode. It is, we dive into her book called Healthy AF. That book literally changed my life. That was one of the catalysts for me and making some of these adjustments to my health and fitness lifestyle. But basically, she just talks about, you need to either decide the body that you want and then make peace with the effort that it takes to get there, or you need to decide what amount of effort you're willing to put in and then make peace with the results that effort's going to give you. And so that's especially true through the holiday season, So anyways, that's a great episode. Go listen to that. But sticking to this 80-20 is a perfect way to limit your stress, get rid of the guilt of eating the desserts here and there, because if you're sticking to healthy eating and healthy habits 80% of the time, and you are still moving your body and you're, doing all those things, you can indulge in the 10 to 20%, whatever percentage bracket you want to put yourself in, as long as you're at peace with the results that you're going to get. That's how you can live through the holidays stress-free when it comes to eating. And the fewer things you commit to through the holiday season, the fewer chance you have of eating like crap. So there's a hack too, and we will talk more about committing to less later on in the episode. So moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is to limit our scrolling through this time of year. This is, again, all of these are true in general, but especially during the holidays. The phrase I like to use is use it, don't abuse it. Okay. Scrolling on Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok and all these things can be super helpful during this time of years for recipes, fun decor tips. If you are looking to change up your decor, or you're not really quite loving, what your decor is looking like, or, Christmas crafts with the kids, and you're looking to do something for free or less money, like budget friendly things. We can use the internet and reels and all of these things at our disposal for real practical uses. But when we start to abuse it is when we start mindlessly scrolling constantly. And the mindlessly scrolling is what is keeping us present from what is right in front of us. But it takes off our brain of what is right in front of us, and it puts it towards thoughts like, I wish I had that. I wish my home looked like this influencer's home. I am not a good mom because I didn't do this tradition with my kids, or I didn't make this treat or craft with my kids. And the problem with this mindless scrolling is it keeps us stuck in this constant negative cycle of making us feel badly about ourselves and the choices that we're making. If otherwise we didn't feel bad about it and we feel confident in our choices. The scrolling keeps us stuck in this negative loop. And not to mention the obvious negative, health effects that it has on us. It disrupts our sleep. The blue light is straining to our eyes, et cetera, et cetera. We all know how, bad it is. But what the scrolling does, especially during the holiday season, is it puts us into a comparison trap. We are no longer satisfied or grateful with what we have in front of us or what we have been given in our lives. And now we are constantly negatively putting ourselves down and uplifting whoever else we're looking on the internet, which leads me to my next thing that I want to talk about is comparing. And it's simple. Stop comparing yourself. Everybody has something around them in their life, especially during the holiday season, to be thankful for. If you have the ability to be listening to this podcast episode right now, you have something to be thankful for because you probably have a roof over your head or a phone in your hand or a computer that you're listening on. These are things to be overly grateful for, right? So comparing ourselves to others on the internet is what is keeping our mind off of gratitude and being able to be grateful for the things right in front of us. And gratitude, if you remember nothing else from this episode, remember this statement. Gratitude is the most underrated way to a healthy, both physically and mentally, to a healthy life. And this is why. Let me explain. I don't want to get too scientific, but I need to explain to you exactly what's going on inside our brains and our bodies, because it's not just us living in la la land of gratitude. No, it's actually having a physical effect on our bodies. So what gratitude does is it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, okay? And our parasympathetic nervous system, when working properly and when activated, is what switches us out of that fight or flight, that constant go, 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 that nonstop stress, that high anxiety way of life. It switches us out of that and then into our rest and digest. And this literally will reduce stress and anxiety and that feeling of overwhelm, especially during the holidays. That feeling of stress and overwhelm, that's just not because you have a lot of things on your to-do list. That's probably because you're living in a constant state of fight or flight, or a constant state of a deactivated parasympathetic nervous system, because all we're thinking about is the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, rather than being grateful and having thoughts of gratitude of what is right in front of us. And so when we focus on gratitude, it reduces the stress and anxiety and that feeling of overwhelm. It releases all of those happy hormones, as people call it, the dopamine and the serotonin in our brains and all of those things. Okay, so showing gratitude isn't just about having a good heart or being a good person or doing the right thing, or like I said, living in la la land of everything's fine, even though nothing's fine. It's not just about living in delusion. It literally changes what is going on in our brains. It changes our brainwaves, which is often overwhelm and chaos. And it switches it to calm and ease without having to do anything other than simply being grateful, telling our brains that we have something to be thankful for. And so when we are comparing ourselves to specifically people on the internet, but to whoever the heck else we're comparing ourselves to, and how we do the holidays and how, compared versus how other people do it, we shut all of that off and we lose all of those benefits of switching out of fight or flight into rest and digest. And so, again, we can use the internet when it's really helpful, but then we need to not abuse it. Use it, don't abuse it. When you find yourself sitting there feeling bad about your life, or, feeling bad about things that you decided not to do with your kids this year, or the way that you decorated your Christmas tree, whatever it is, as soon as you hit that point, you know it's time to put your phone down, right? So stop using the internet for those dopamine hits that we're all so desperate to get, because it's a never-ending trap. It's a never-ending addiction. And when we start turning to the internet for the dopamine hits, it's so much harder to break that addiction. So put the phone down, stop scrolling, stop comparing. It's literally robbing all of your joy. And again, specifically to grievers, I want to make a mental note. If you are trying to incorporate your loved one, the person that you lost, into the holidays in some way, this is your full permission to stop doing what other people are doing around the holiday season just because they're doing it, and decide what works for you and what is actually really special to you and makes your heart happy and gives your heart healing and joy, and start focusing on those things. You are going to waste a lot of time and energy doing something to make the holiday special that you saw somebody on the internet do, and you thought, well, if they're doing it, that means I should be doing that for my loved one. No. You are already depleted in resources and nutrition and sleep, probably, and all of these things if you are grieving during this time. And you're wasting all this time and energy on something that probably doesn't even really mean that much to you. And if it doesn't mean that much to you, this is your permission to stop doing those things and to start focusing on things that really mean a lot to you. Stop doing the things that you saw someone else do just because you think it's something nice to do, right? This is your permission to stop doing it. And to grievers and non-grievers, whoever, just to kind of wrap up that topic, chances are the people that we're comparing ourselves to is someone who lives a way different life than you do. The fancy reels and the decor setup and all of these things, these people, if they're influencers, if they're getting paid to do this, like, that's a whole different ballgame. You're not getting paid to set up your house the way that those influencers are. Or if somebody is, has time or has, the resources, let's say, to have their home looking perfect and their kids looking perfect, and all their meals are homemade and healthy, and everybody's thriving and blah, blah, blah. And you see all this, and that's who you're comparing to. Something is lacking in their life. They either are paying for a lot of what they're getting, or they have given up, sacrificed things that you are not willing to give up or sacrifice to make these beautiful staged scripted reels. Okay. Lots of these things are highlight reels. So it's an unfair comparison, right? Okay. I think we've talked about that subject enough. Moving on. The next one. I mentioned before we would come back to this. Stop overscheduling yourself. All right. We need to let go of FOMO. I have let go of FOMO so long ago, and it was one of the most liberating things I've ever done. We do not have to say yes to everything just because it's the holiday season. Okay, stress is often the payment we use during busy seasons of life. Okay, we usually pay for a lot of experiences. We want to be in on all the experiences, and the payment for that is stress, right? So what we want to be doing is shifting our mindset from saying yes to everything and going to everything and we got to do it all because it's holiday season, and start chasing quality over quantity. Okay. Quality over quantity. Saying yes to everything isn't what is going to bring you joy this holiday season. Being at every single party and every single cookie exchange and every single everything is not what's going to bring you joy. But deciding what actually brings you peace, joy, hope, happiness, all of these things, and then going really hard at those things and saying no to everything else, that is when the joy will really start to happen effortlessly almost, And so, another thing I recently posted about was the thing that is stealing our joy the most during these holiday season is not the baking, the cooking, the cleaning, the wrapping, the buying presents. The things that we do during these holiday seasons aren't intrinsically bad. They're not intrinsically stressful things. Shopping, unless you really hate shopping, I guess shopping can be stressful for some people, but in general, these things by themselves are not stressful. It's the rushing through it that makes these things so stressful. That is what is causing you to feel overwhelmed and chaotic, because you're trying to just rush from one thing to the next, and it's making your nervous system go, "Oh my gosh, there's chaos. Something's wrong. Shut down all of my, essential or shut down all of the things that don't matter and just focus on the essential things to keep us living," basically. And it's like, we're not thriving, we're just surviving. And so getting rid of, not overscheduling, will cause us to rush less because we can actually slow down and enjoy these things. And so there's this sweet spot. There's a balance between the moving and doing and constantly going, and then just the sitting and mindlessly scrolling, like we also talked about. And I believe that in that sweet spot is where the most joy is found, especially in this during the holiday season, because it's, obsessed with over consumption, which I could talk more about that later too. So we can move on to the next thing, which is, kind of similar, but it's talking about simplifying traditions. All right. It's similar to not overscheduling yourself. Quality over quantity is what we're chasing, especially as moms. Okay. We feel like we need to pack in every single tradition for our kids, right? But if we are just checking these things off the list, like I got to do pumpkins, I got to do what are we thankful for board, I got to do the Christmas countdown, I got to do all of these things. If we're just checking them off the list and packing them in for the sake of packing them in, but nobody's really like enjoying it and it's really just stressing you out, and nobody's really savoring the moment or being taught how to be grateful for the things that we have and all these things, like what's the point? This is a silly example, but I'll give it to just kind of show how I've adjusted this year personally. I started this tradition with the kids a couple years ago where I hang these strings up on my curtain, and there's 24 little mini like lunch bags almost. And there's 3 of the kids. So every single day for 24 days, so they each get 8 bags, they take turns opening a bag, and that's their Advent, countdown until Christmas. And I try to put like practical things in there. I don't just fill it with junk because I'm a declutterer. So I don't like just giving random junk. I try to put practical things or like small treats that will get consumed and then they're gone forever in those bags. And the kids really love that tradition. However, when I opened my holiday boxes this year and I saw that in there, because it takes some work. I got to go get the things. I got to hang it up. I know it sounds silly. It's not like that much work, but when I saw it, I was like, ugh, I forgot about that. And it instantly brought me like the sense of like stress and like overwhelm. And I'm like, okay, well, I certainly don't want that. But I know that the countdown tradition to them in general is something important. So I totally shifted my strategy and I was like, you know what? This year I'm going to buy them their own advent calendars. So it eliminates the work that I have to do. And I'm going to get them an advent calendar that is either surrounding an experience or filled with something that is actually practical and useful to them. So that's what I decided to do. It immediately took the stress off my plate. I adjusted my tradition. They're going to be thrilled because they're going to get more presents from these advent calendars. And then we move on with our day. And I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like I have to do both. I didn't completely eliminate something that was important to all of us. I just simply adjusted. And so, and again, just because someone else is doing it, or just because I've always been doing, or I've always done them the last few years, doesn't mean I need to keep doing them just because it's a tradition and for the sake of doing it, right? We need to start reevaluating if our current traditions are something that we really want to be spending our very limited and precious time and mental energy on. That's allowed. We're allowed to do that, right? You have the permission to stick to whatever you decide, explanation free to anybody else who's doing different traditions or has different, experiences in their home than you are. It's time to reevaluate what they are and then stick to it wholeheartedly, go wholeheartedly, explanation free. And this is similar to, decluttering your house. If you feel way too busy or overwhelmed during the holidays or constantly rushing or from one thing to the next without actually really enjoying it, like, it is time to declutter your traditions. We don't just declutter things, right? We can declutter traditions, calendars, draining relationships. This is a great time to declutter those, whatever we need to do, start doing it now. Don't wait until the new year, because if you really want to enjoy this holiday season, now is the time to start decluttering the excess. Okay. And I want to debunk a myth here for a second. And this might be controversial, but if this is something that you can prioritize in your own life, stress-free, and it's not causing you to be, overwhelmed and chaotic, by all means, do whatever the heck you want to do. But for the people who feel like this myth or the saying is overwhelming to them, let's debunk this, okay? The saying, like, well, they'll only be little once, and so I want to make sure I give them the most magical experience and go all out and do all the things because this is their childhood. Okay, that is true. And yes, their childhood is in your hands, okay? Their memories are in your hands as the adult, as the parent. But think about when you were a kid and what you actually remember now as an adult. Excuse me. We remember little things and glimpses, like what our Christmas tree looked like and, the cookies that your mom made, your favorite cookie, or waking up on Christmas morning and maybe a couple of traditions here or there. But kids are mostly going to remember the way that you made the holiday season feel, like I remember the drinking of eggnog while we were putting up the Christmas tree. Like, that's not an expensive or chaotic or stressful tradition. Or again, the way my mom always had the tree perfectly decorated. Now, that was something that she decided that was important to her. And whether that stressed her out or not, I don't know, because she never made me feel like it was stressed out, right? It was the way that I felt during the holiday season that I remember the most. But if as a mom, as a homemaker, as the person who's running the show, let's say, if packing everything in and doing all of the things just to give your kids a magical experience is stressing you out or causing you to not relax or even sit down and enjoy these traditions with them, like, what good is your stress, your irritability, your overwhelm is going to rub off on the kids. If they sense that you aren't actually enjoying this, they're not going to enjoy it either. They're going to remember that mom was stressed out. She was chaotic. She never did anything with us. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you can find that balance, then by all means, find that balance. But keep in mind, something else is going to have to give, probably. Something else is going to have to be sacrificed. And again, if that's the decision you're going to make, you stick to it and you don't have to explain anything. But for a majority of women, I think I have to do everything to give them the most magical experience is a myth that most women, it's a standard that most women can't live up to. And that's okay. Because your kids are not going to remember the endless amount of things that you did. The kids are going to remember the way that you made the holiday season feel, right? And the other thing about this is you're also kind of teaching your kids that in order to enjoy anything special, like the holiday season, but anything special in life, you have to constantly be doing something and you have to constantly be entertained. And I don't know about you, but that is the opposite of what I'm trying to teach my kids. I am trying to teach them that you don't always need to be entertained. You don't always have to have something from me to entertain you. I'm not an entertainment monkey. I say that all the time. Like, they're not allowed to say I'm bored in the house. Like, it's literally, it's like a bad word. I don't want to hear the B word. That's what we call the B word. I don't want to teach my kids, you always have to be doing something. You always have to be entertained to enjoy a special season, And it's a perfect time to teach your kids about overconsumption, whether it's things or experiences, Overconsumption, like I mentioned before, it's a raging issue in this generation for these kids nowadays. And it can be overconsumption normally gets tied to things, the next, the latest, the greatest thing. And that is dangerous for sure. But it can also be an overconsumption of experiences, entertainment. What are we doing next? What are we doing next? What's the next thing that's going to, excite me, rather than just being and sitting and relaxing and bonding and enjoying those fewer quality experience over just go over the quantity of experience. And the holidays tend to glorify this idea of overconsumption. And so we don't want to play into that too much with our kids watching. And so if we are the ones saying, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this, they're going to think and learn, oh, that's how we make things special, is by doing all of the things and getting all of the things and doing all of the experiences. Now, if you're on vacation and you're like, I'm paying thousands of dollars, we're going to go do all the, okay, that's different, right? We got a solid 2 months here in the holiday season. If you are going to choose to fill 2 months of things and traditions and experiences and gifts and all of these things for a full 2 months, like, good luck with the way that your nervous system is going to feel at the end of it and your stress level. Like, no wonder people are stressed at the end of it, right? All right. So I hope I got my point across with that. The next thing is to keep some sort of rhythm and routine. Now, this is also talking about our nervous systems. Keeping some sort, like I said, it's not going to be exact because we have to adjust for the holiday season. Some sort of rhythm and routine is absolutely essential to our nervous systems. And our nervous system is what is controlling everything that we feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so it's imperative that we nurture it, right? And so the reason we often feel stressed or overwhelmed and chaotic during the holiday season is not only are we completely overpacking our schedules and our brains with things, but we tend to fall out of any sort of rhythm or routine that we have for ourselves and normal life, I'll call it. And our nervous systems don't like that. They thrive in rhythm and routine, not constant chaos. And so when we have a certain rhythm and routine for most of the year, and then all of a sudden the holidays hit and all of our healthy habits go out the door and all of our mornings now become rushed and our weekends are rushed and there's no rest and everybody's rushing and all these things, our nervous systems are like, oh, they start to panic. Like, something must be wrong because I don't see anything familiar here. So I'm going to panic. I'm going to shoot cortisol out. I'm going to constantly be sending message to your brain. Something's wrong. You should be stressed. You should be thinking about the next thing and all of these things, right? And like I said, we have to adjust it temporarily. We might not be able to stick to all of our things, all of our healthy habits or our morning routines and whatever. And that's okay, but we have to keep something consistent so that our brains can know, like, oh, okay, I recognize this. I remember this. This is familiar to me. So now I know everything's good. Like, I don't have to go into fight or flight mode. I don't have to. My life isn't completely turned upside down right now. Everything's okay. We can relax. We can chill. We don't have to stress. Keeping a rhythm or routine or a routine is our way of telling our brains, which then tells our bodies, you don't have to panic. You don't have to go into high stress mode. Everything's fine. And that's when we will start to feel that reduction of stress and anxiety that we're so used to feeling during the holidays. And something that is a good routine to keep for ourselves is some alone time to reset or regroup. And I know moms, especially with young kids, you're going to say, alone time, what's that? I don't have time for that. And I don't like that. I don't like that saying. I think it's completely and wildly untrue. You have time for whatever you make time for. You must prioritize alone time. When I was in my deepest, darkest point of life, after my daughter had died, after my husband was, super sick, and even during the time when my husband was super sick and we were just rebuilding our lives and coming out of rising from the ashes, basically, I had to prioritize alone time. I had to go up in order to keep my sanity and to keep everybody else happy, healthy, and whole. I needed my alone time because that is when I took the time to reset and regroup. Reset, regroup, prep time, whatever you want to call it, might just be the missing ingredient to your dysregulated nervous system. In order to go from dysregulation to regulation, you might need just some alone time, some prep time, especially during times like these. And I know in my everyday life, I wouldn't be successful in the way that I run my home. I don't say this to brag, but like, we have homemade meals on the table every single day. My kids are fairly healthy. I say fairly because one of them's a teenager and she doesn't like to take health advice. we are in the best health we've ever been. We enjoy things fully. Like, I'm not saying we have a perfect life. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the things I have chosen to prioritize make all of these things that most moms and women stress about makes it seamless for me. I don't wake up chaotic. I know what we're eating for dinner every single day on Sunday night. Actually, Saturday night. Like, these things don't stress me out because I prioritize prep and reset and regroup time. And so that's why for the holidays especially, it can be an essential ingredient and a good rhythm and routine keeper to keep our nervous systems in check and calm rather than chaotic. I hope this is all making sense. So again, this is kind of a next thing, but it's kind of the same thing of what I just talked about, which is prioritizing preparation. You know, the holidays are probably only stressful for people who are not planning ahead because they're just rushing from one thing to the next. I've said that several times so far. You know, one event these events all on this checklist is basically just like checking things off a to-do list. You know, they're not being treated like special events or special traditions. It's just a running to-do list because we as women and moms, we know how to keep a to-do list, right? And so rushing through them is just checking them off. And a lot of times we're not doing it we're doing that because we're not taking the time to prioritize preparation for it. And so we're just rushing, and the rushing is the thief of all of our joy, right? It's worth taking that 20 minutes every single morning or an hour every single week or whatever you decide works for you to sit down and get yourself organized for that day, that week, that month, whatever the heck works for you. It's worth it. Okay. And for me, I know, like, I am writing things down constantly. I don't expect, this is another tip. Stop expecting your brain to remember things. Stop expecting your brain that you need to remember to go get this or pick this up for this person. Like, write it down. Get your phone out or have a notepad with you all the time. I use my phone because my phone is with me all the time. And I have a running to-do list and I just write stuff down. Even if it's the smallest little thing, I write it down. And most of the things don't fall through the cracks because I know I'm not going to remember that. So I write it down, but that's just a small thing. And the next thing is, this is super simple, but this was very, very hard for me to wrap my head around, is ask for help. Ask for help. Our families our families are not mind readers, and it's not fair that we treat them as such. You know, they don't know how many things that we have cycling through our brain at one time on a regular basis, let alone during the holiday season, right? It's not fair for us to have all of these things constantly going and constantly feeling stressed about them and then projecting that frustration on them like they're not contributing enough. They have no idea what's going on in our heads, right? They have no idea what the to-do list looks like. So if we need help, whether it's from our husbands, our kids, family members, it is our responsibility to ask for help, not their responsibility to just know and chip in, right? We get that twisted sometimes. Okay, a couple more left, but this next one is actually my favorite. And this one has been life-changing for me and has really brought me some of the most amounts of joy after a time of my life that was totally joyless and hopeless. Romanticizing the small moments of life. Okay, this is my favorite tip. And the reason this is my favorite is because it takes the mundane, it takes the things that we do constantly and over again, and it makes them beautiful all of a sudden. You know, so during specific to the holiday seasons, you know, just when you're in the car, like seeing Christmas lights, you know, when you're on the couch watching the Christmas movie and you're bundled up in your Christmas blanket and you have hot chocolate or whatever the heck it is, you know, or even not, you know, holiday related, sitting and drinking your morning coffee or making your making your tea as part of your routine. That's my morning routine, is I make my tea. And while the kids are getting ready for school, that is when I sit and I prep for my day. Again, that might look totally different for you, but that's my rhythm and routine. Holidays are not. And so whatever you decide to keep for yourself, whatever rhythm or routine or small moments or whatever we decide to continue to do through the holiday season, romanticize it. Make it better than it actually is. Making tea, that's just making tea, right? But when we pretend It sounds silly, but when we pretend, or not pretend, I don't like the word pretend, when we romanticize it and make it look beautiful and we focus on the gratitude, that is when we find that joy. We start to view these tasks as less of tasks and more of, these are the small moments that I look forward to in my day. You know, things like prepping lots of food for company, cleaning your house, scrubbing your toilets. You know, we talked about decluttering, getting rid of these things, wrapping presents, which can take a long time. And for us, millennials, can be painful now. These things can be time consuming and they can be exhausting sometimes. But these are the moments that if we choose to romanticize them and keep in perspective how blessed we really are to be able to do them, they seem way less stressful and way more enjoyable. And like I said, this was life-changing for me because I used to think that this way of thinking was such crap. Like, I used to think like, oh my gosh, like really, you know, people would say like, I'm so blessed for a sink full of dishes because that means my kids ate healthy today, or, you know, ate 3 meals today. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that used to make me like gag. But now I'm like, I get it, because it's a choice, right? We can choose to be grateful for the sink full of dishes, or we can choose to look at them as an inconvenience. And so making the things that used to feel like an inconvenience focus or you know, turn our minds from viewing them as an inconvenience to blessings. That is how we can romanticize those small moments, and it really just naturally brings you more joy. So that one is my favorite. Start romanticizing the little things and watch your life turn around. 2 more things. This one is super important. Don't forget about nature. Okay, just because we hunker down for this cold weather inside all of a sudden all the time doesn't mean our bodies and our minds stop craving the outdoors. Okay, our health still relies on some of these essential things. I am from Buffalo, New York. Yeah, I know what it feels like to have to hunker down. We get a lot of snow sometimes and whatever. And right now it's, you know, it's almost mid-November. I can still comfortably go outside and get even just 5-10 minutes of some fresh air, some sunshine sometimes on some days. Like, it is possible. And I try to do it as long as I possibly can. So that is what I am urging you to do. Get yourself in nature, even in December, January, February, when there's snow on the ground, or if there's not snow for you, whatever the case is. Don't forget that our bodies still thrive in nature. It needs the sun. It needs the, you know, the fresh air and the vitamin D. Like, our health depends on it. Our mental state depends on it. We need the sun and outdoors. And so if this is all about keeping us less stress-free and more joyful, like, and our bodies and our minds rely on this, like, then we can't just forget about it just because there's snow on the ground, right? We have to continue to incorporate it into our days. And it just makes us more grateful. Like, I say all the time to people, like, if you are having a down day, a down morning, just feeling like in the dumps, can't get your mind out of the, out of that state of depression or whatever it is, my phrase is, get outside, look up to the sun, and be grateful. It's so much easier to find something to be grateful for when we're in fresh air and surrounded by sun. It just is. It's the way that God designed our bodies. I don't know. I can't describe it, but I do know that there's a science behind it and it works. So don't forget about nature. And last but not least, remember that day in and day out, okay, through the holiday season and beyond, after the new year and for the rest of the months of the year, having peace in our hearts is a choice. When we wake up every single day, we have a choice to make, because the day, the week, the month, the year, the holiday season, whatever we're, segmenting our time in, it's going to pass no matter what we choose. Whether we choose peace or not, that time frame is going to pass, right? But we have a choice. I'm either going to be stressed about this or I'm going to have peace about this. And it's nobody else's responsibility. It's not our circumstances' responsibility to dictate our peace and joy. We can choose to have peace and joy through chaotic times and through, more overwhelming times of the year. especially when we decide to do all of the other things that we talked about. It's up to us to decide in our hearts, along with all of our other practical tips that we talked about. This is what's going to bring, I choose peace. These are the things that's going to bring me peace. So I'm going to put all of these things into practice. And when I wake up, I'm going to decide the holiday season is not a problem. That's my new, that's like my new favorite phrase. You've probably seen it circling the internet. Like it'll be like a mom and her kids, and the kids made like an entire mess, all along on the floor, and there's paint spilled and whatever. And the mom decides to look and go, this is not a problem. Whether something is a problem or not is a choice. Whether we have peace or not, it's a choice. Now, don't get me wrong. There are real problems in the world. I'm not saying like, you finding something, some devastating news out isn't a problem. I'm just saying. And something, when we're talking about the holiday season, we can decide the holiday season is going to be stressful for me, or it's going to be a time of peace. And I have that choice every single time I wake up, right? And so, another thing I just want you to remember, this isn't really on the list, but just remember that everyone is struggling somewhere, especially during the holidays. We talked about comparing ourselves to others. Like everybody is struggling with something. Nobody is doing it all. And I mean, literally, nobody is doing it all. Even that influencer that you see that you love, and you every time their stuff pops up, you watch it and you think they have it all together and they have a hot husband and beautiful kids and everybody's healthy. Even those people, everybody is struggling with something. Nobody is doing it all. Right? So that's something to remember, especially during the holiday season. So we're looking to increase our joy, decrease our stress. These are the things that will help us to get there during the holiday season and beyond. So I hope these things are super helpful. Don't forget, you can't just listen to the podcast episode, okay? You have to implement these things. You have to put them into practice, okay? Keep those rhythms and routines going. Don't forget about nature. We have a choice. We can romanticize these moments, or we can decide to make them stressful. Remember to prioritize preparation for yourself. Start simplifying and decluttering our schedules and our traditions and people if needed, and all of these things. We're going to stop scrolling. We're going to stop comparing. We're going to start focusing on being grateful. We're going to enjoy the little things the holiday season, and that is going to decrease our stress and increase our joy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about holistic home tips and how to keep ourselves, low stress, high joy. One of my future episodes will be about prepping our homes for the holiday season. That was going to be super practical. I'm going to do a live on it, and then I will also do a podcast episode on it. So if this episode was helpful to you, leave a comment or shoot me a message with your email address, and I will get these notes out to you for sure so that you don't have to remember it. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes just like this one. It also helps get the word out about my podcast. We got a lot of good stuff coming out for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate your feedback. I can't wait to chat with all of you again really soon. Signing off for now, your hope dealer, Emmy Smaz.